working there. The latest being the uranium mine near Klerksdorp and Optimum coal mine in Mpumalanga. At other companies, workers were apparently paid late. Let's get some analysis. We're joined by Labour consultant Tony Healy. Thank you for being with us, Tony. So, do you think you can force a bank to stay in the country to do business with a family they don't want to do business with, especially because they're just the last bank standing, basically?
I think what may well happen is that you can't prevent the bank from leaving, which is your point. But what may well happen is that their exit is delayed so that this crisis can be overcome, and they can work through the cash flows in terms of paying staff and perhaps giving time for a new buyer to enter the whole scenario.
I'm sure there are very few precedents for something like this.
It's an astonishing situation, and it is unprecedented. And that makes it all the more complex because you don't get a new buyer quickly.
Yeah.
But my sense is that one of two things is likely to happen: that Bank of Baroda will have to delay their exit, or another bank will step in. Because even if the mines are sold, it takes time for the new owners to get into place and recapitalize the business.
And surely you'd have to protect the bank itself legally, because we know the banks don't want to be doing business with anyone who could get them into legal trouble. Can you give that sort of protection?
Well, there perhaps needs to be some sort of dispensation in the circumstances. So the Gupta-owned businesses have been kind of viewed as pariahs in the workplaces, and there would probably need to be some form of special dispensation for any bank that decides to step in and handle cash flow.
Otherwise, if there's no cash, I mean, isn't this when liquidators get involved and it's their job to try and ensure that people get paid and things like that ways and means, and maybe banks then start to do business with the liquidators very quickly?
I don't see that as being a likely scenario, because the minute liquidators become involved, assets then have to be sold. If the assets are sold, it's a less viable business for a potential buyer. So I think what's more likely, as I say, is there will be some arrangement around a bank, be it Baroda or someone else, to help see them through this crisis until, in all likelihood, there is a new buyer. And there has been interest shown from potential buyers.
You were talking about Optimum, and that's one that's been in the news a lot now. Workers not getting paid, reportedly, but at least some hope.
Well, yes. So it's a complex mine. It produces high-quality coal, and there are probably 4 or 5 power stations within about a 50-kilometer radius of Optimum. We must remember Optimum was bought out of a business rescue scenario from Glencore previously, and it now finds itself in a similar scenario. So Seriti Holdings expressed some interest today in Optimum, and it wouldn't surprise me even if a Glencore re-entered the picture and said, you know what, we might like to take it back.
If the reports are true, however, when the Guptas were buying things like Optimum, there was an extension of cash to pay for it in the first place, and the assumption presumably of very good business with Eskom, maybe a little harder now for buyers coming into any of these companies.
Well, I think a scheme of arrangement could include some kind of guarantee when it comes to the contract with Eskom. It currently has a 10-year contract anyway, so I think that's pretty much confirmed and in place and guaranteed. And I've no doubt that whoever buys, if anyone does indeed buy Optimum, it'll be at a far bigger discount to what the current owners paid.
ANN7, we heard of delayed salaries. What would you say to anyone working for a Gupta-owned company right now? Do they have any options? That's
a loaded question. I think that like any other employee who's employed by a company that appears to be at risk, many of them are going to be looking further afield. Others will, and some will be more marketable than others. Many will have no choice. If they believe they have no prospects elsewhere, they need to stay the course with that Gupta-owned company and hope that over time things settle down.
And getting money from the family itself, we know that the asset forfeiture unit has taken some and linked to the Estina dairy farm, but we're talking about criminal cases that can take a very long time. It's not possible, as I understand, to attach funds for salaries.
No, that's not going to happen. And if it does, as you rightly said, it's going to happen slowly. the funding for salaries is going to come from a bank. That's the most immediate, obvious source of funding. And any potential sale is going to be, perhaps will guarantee job security going forward, but it's not going to address the immediate concern of ensuring that salaries are paid.
Finally, anything we can learn from this? I don't know. Is there anything that could have been done to avoid this situation? And I can't think of it, actually.
You know what? I think it's such an extraordinary set of circumstances. I think there's a reason why it's unprecedented, because it is so unusual and it is so likely to occur again. I mean, we're not faced with state capture issues frequently, fortunately. I can't imagine that we'll see another certainly hope we don't see another circumstance like this in our lifetime.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your analysis, Labour analyst Tony Healy. All right, well, the Gupta